So today we are going to discuss a morning routine which I believe will be an absolute game changer for every single one of you. And it has nothing to do with hydrating, morning walks, meditation, cold showers, humming to some dolphin music, or doing yoga, or all these things that are the ultimate world-class morning routine, because all of that comes after. I'm not saying that doesn't have its place, but it comes after. Okay. Now, what's most important is what happens the second that you wake up. Okay. And this is 100% more important than what happens afterwards. And I've hopefully used a really great analogy for this to make sense today. And that is tuning in to the radio of the life that you want. So most people wake up and they think it's just another day. It's just another Monday, but it's not. And the difference between winning and losing is understanding that the second you open your eyes, your entire day in whatever area, fun, fitness, family, finance, whatever, is shaped by your very, very first thought. From the second you open your eyes, we're shaped neurologically in the brain, we're shaped emotionally, and we're shaped energetically by our thoughts. And there will be some huge light bulb moments today when you're going to go, literally, I was making this training going, oh my God, no wonder I felt like that on that day. So we are shaped neurologically, emotionally, and energetically by our thoughts, and what radio we choose to tune into. And it is a choice, okay? So the first thought that you allow into your mind is the radio station. Absolutely undeniable. Now, this also happens before you go to bed, which we're going to be coming on to in next week's training. And that one's actually even more critical, because once we're conscious, i.e. now, we can control those thoughts or retune the radio in some form of in some format, can't we? Retrain the frequency. But once you've fallen asleep, once you've gone from alpha brainwave to beta brainwave, or theta, sorry, and you're asleep, that thought will be in your subconscious all night. So if you go to bed, one, stressed, cortisol doesn't mix with stress, cortisol doesn't mix with sleep, so you can have a really bad night's sleep. And two, if you're carrying negative subconscious thoughts when you fall asleep, they will literally be simmering in your subconscious all night. So it's no wonder you wake up sometimes feeling maybe a little bit out of alignment with how you want to feel when you wake up. So that's next week anyway. So as you'll see in the private group, I've been sending, I think we're on affirmation number 4 now, and there's 5 more affirmations that will come. It's a series of 9. And then once I've done those 9 affirmations, once we've done next week's training on subconscious programming before bed, we'll then be moving on to a training on those 9 affirmations, how important they are and how to speak them into reality. So please do make sure that you're paying attention in the private WhatsApp group and acknowledging the morning post once you've read it. So our thoughts are the radio frequency that we're tuning into. Now, why this becomes so important is that the universe will always give you more of what you ask for, more of what you give out. It will always play the song that you ask for. So if you play a song of worry, negativity, stress, anxiety, fear, it's going to play you some more songs of that until that just becomes your radio station. Now, this is the point though. Like, I think I've written this line down about 20 times in this training. So listen carefully, right? The world and the people in it do not respond to what you want. They respond to who you are. So if you're operating from scared, fiercity, if you're operating from fear, scarcity, worry, anxiety, angry, I'm pissed off, this isn't working for me, this person's stressing me out, that is literally what you are giving out. That's your frequency. and the world will give you more of who you are being. So if you're in this part of your life when you feel like everyone in your life's being a bit awkward, everyone's pissing you off, everyone's triggering you, everyone's getting on your nerves, you feel anxious and stressed and worried all the time, I mean this with love and respect, go and look in the fucking mirror. Because the universe is giving you who you are. It doesn't give you what you want. Because whatever you're giving out is the channel that you're broadcasting. And you'll only attract the same channel. So, as I said, when we wake up in the morning, right, we're moving from deep theta into alpha. So we've gone from completely subconscious to at some point we're going to become conscious. And this is where the shift needs to begin. Because if you want a fresh start, then you need to start with fresh thoughts. Okay? But the reason why, until we pick up this little fucker, like whatever those anxieties and stresses and worries and fears are, in that very first stage when you wake up and move from theta to beta to alpha, that hasn't been activated. There's a point when it hasn't been activated before you start thinking normally when you pick up your phone. So you haven't yet remembered what you're angry about. You haven't yet remembered what's on your mind. You haven't yet remembered what's stressing you out, or who's stressing you out, or what's not working for you, or where you feel you should be. It's literally a blank canvas, but it's such a short period. We're talking seconds. Okay? So what do most people do when they wake up? I know without even asking that at least 50% of you did this morning. You picked up your phone before you even got out of bed and you looked at something on it. You went into WhatsApp, you went into Instagram, you went into emails, you basically let the world control your mind before you've started working on your own mind. Okay? And what happens here is the external world invades your internal world before you've even had time to set your internal world out. And your external world will always follow your internal world. This is why if you've got chaos in your head, you'll have chaos in your life. And you'll attract more chaos. We have to control our internal world before the external world, i.e. messages, emails, other people, situations, circumstances, kids, husband, wife, brother, sister, unicorn, whatever, starts to invade it with their world. So when this happens and we do something that creates stress before we've even got out of bed, your body starts feeling it and it's back into the same emotional loop. It's back into where you were. This is the reality of where most people live their life. They go to bed thinking stressed, anxious, worried thoughts. They wake up thinking stressed, worried, anxious thoughts. They spend the whole day feeling stressed, worried, and anxious, and they get really fucking angry and moan about other people who are so stressed, anxious, and worried. It's a complete emotional loop. It's literally, this isn't woo-woo stuff. This is brain chemistry. Okay, this is wiring. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So you might have been running this your whole life, but you know, we can't tune into the same radio and expect to hear a different song. If we want a new song, then we need a new radio. Otherwise, it's like getting up every day and pressing play on the same movie. I can believe that happened to me again today. Well, of course it happened to you again. You just played the same movie yesterday, same routine. You did the same thing when you got up. You had the same thought. You did the same actions. You carried yesterday's anger into today. And this is the trap of living on autopilot. This is the trap of living unconsciously. And I've done this for years, okay? But that is what, just think about that in your head. It's like, it is literally like me pressing play on that record and then going, I can't believe fucking iTunes played that song again today. Of course it did. I pressed play on it as soon as I got up. And your thoughts are the same. Does this make sense with me comparing it to the radio thing, yeah? So it doesn't have to be this way. Radios have knobs. We're all old enough now to be talking old school. And I want you to be thinking proper radio where you tune it in, not DAB. Because they always tune in right most of the times, don't they? Unless you're in the Lake District or Devon. Then they just don't work at all, along with the Wi-Fi and everything else. Anyway, so I could see Pete and Jan both shaking their heads. No, don't. So when we tune into a new frequency, one that aligns with what we want, one that's playing the song that we want to hear, this is what's called coherence in the brain. So your first thought isn't just a thought. It's a signal for the entire day. So imagine if you, like you guys must have heard me say this on 1,000 reels, right? And I don't do it every day because some days I forget because I'm extra tired when I wake up. But most days I do still do it. In fact, I might actually get this tattooed. I think it would be quite interesting tattoos. I might get the word thank tattooed on my left foot on the top, and I might get the word you tattooed on my right foot on the top. Because that's what I do when I ground myself to get out of bed. I say, thank you. Okay? Thank you for this day. Thank you for me being alive. Thank you for me breathing. Thank you for the opportunity that millions of people have lost. Some people don't have an opportunity to do today. Some people just lost a loved one. You know, that's the first thing you should be grateful for, to be alive and breathing. It sounds cheesy, but that could be taken away in a heartbeat. That could be taken away, like, I'm glad he's actually stopped now before I said it, but that could be taken away in 30 seconds. Someone could have pulled out and crashed straight into Pete's car and ended his life. Sounds morbid, right? But we should be grateful for each and every day just to be alive. So then we can say, and we'll be bringing us on from the affirmations, so I can get out of bed and say thank you straight away before I've picked up my phone, before I've done anything at all. And I can say, I choose positivity today. I choose gratitude. I choose happiness. I choose love. I choose growth. And I choose contribution. And I can say it over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? Because what I'm doing is I'm interrupting the old memorized self that will very often wake up and say, I'm not where I want to be. I don't have enough money. Nothing ever works out for me. Why do relationships always end? Why do people hurt me? Why do I feel this way? Why am I struggling today? Why is my energy so low? Whoa, woo, that's a nice fucking station to be tuned into at 6 a.m, isn't it? How's the rest of my day going to look? So you have to control it, because if not, the external world will control it for you. So you have to interrupt the old memorized self. And it's hard because you've been that person for 20, 30 years. You know, you might have hardwired what you do every morning for the last 20 years. You might have hardwired that you wake up and all you think is anxiety, stress, scarcity and fear. But that knob's there. It's there to be retuned anytime you want. Now you can choose to turn up to wake up and tune it into that same station, but you need to understand that's a choice. So we can tune in to a new frequency and tell the quantum field or the universe, I'm ready to let go of the old me and become someone new today. I'm ready to embrace happiness. I am love. I feel love. I feel nothing but gratitude. I understand that true wealth is nothing more than a feeling of abundance triggered by gratitude. I'm enough. I'm committed. I'm disciplined. I'm focused. I love everyone and everybody loves me. Tuning into that frequency, and then you're going to emit the same broadcast that's going to attract that, because guess what? I told you I was going to say this 100 times. The world doesn't give you what you want. The world gives you who you are. So if you want love, you want positivity, you want respect, be love, be positivity, be respect. If you want people to judge you and be angry and judgmental, because the world will give you that back. It's a perfect reflection, right? It doesn't give you what you want, it gives you who you are. So this isn't, for once in my talks, just about positive thinking. It's literally about energetic calibration and frequency tuning, because we are energy, and whatever energy we give out, we'll attract. You'll all have been in those situations where someone walks into a room and people just gravitate towards them because they're happy, they're smiling, they're shaking hands, they're hugging people, you know, they're smiling, and people, whoa, I want to go and sit near that person. And then you know the same person that walks into the room and you can tell, fucking hell, it's like treading on eggshells. Cut the atmosphere with an ice. With an ice? Cut the atmosphere with a knife. So we will always get what we give out. This is what we will attract. This is why fucking losers tend to hang around with losers. This is why you see weak, negative people who go to the pub every weekend. Guess what they're in relationships with? Weak, negative people. People who have no aspirations in relationships with people that have no aspirations. Because they attract what they give out. So before you're thinking about what you want to attract, think about who you need to become. Because the world doesn't give you what you want. The world gives you more of who you are. So our thoughts that then lead to our actions have an electrical charge. And our feelings have a magnetic pull. So we need to remember that I've said this till I'm blue in the face, blue in the teeth, red in the face. Our thoughts will lead to our beliefs. Our beliefs will lead to our actions, and our actions will lead to how we believe. So whatever our thoughts are will create how we feel. So if I get up and I think love, gratitude, growth, contribution, that's what I'm going to feel. If I get up and tell myself that I'm grateful, that I'm enough, that everything's going to go my way, that I'm in charge, that I don't focus on things that I can't control. That Lee Freeman doesn't need anyone because Lee Freeman's always got Lee Freeman. That's the reality that I'm going to create. Or I can wake up and start telling a story about the things that I need in order to feel full, the money that I need in order to be happy, the relationship that I need to be in order to feel like I'm enough. And I'm going to broadcast that same thing. So if I'm needing someone to be happy in a relationship, fucking millions of people do this and end up in bad relationships, what am I going to attract? What type of woman will I attract? Woman who needs to be in a relationship to be happy. That's not love and connection, that's a transaction. But that's another training. So if you want to feel good, focus on things that make you feel good. Focus on positive thoughts. Because yet again, the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you who you are. So if you're positive and happy and loving and non-judgmental, and you focus on growth and contribution without expectation and just focusing on becoming the person that you want to be, then you will attract and have everything that you want. But whatever frequency you tune into determines what you attract. So you can't attract negative people, positive people if you're negative. You're not going to attract non-judgmental people if you spend your whole life judging people. So if you're not attracting what you want, the first place we need to look is in the mirror. Because our outer world will always follow our inner world. And this is what we need to realize. The amount of, I've ended up being a relationship counselor as well over the years. And every single relationship, all the other person says, if only she could be more like this, everything would be okay. And then the woman says, yeah, well, if only he could be more like me, if only he could be more like this, then everything would be okay. Neither of them are looking at themselves and thinking what they're giving out. And this is the same in life. The world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you who you are. So rather than thinking, what do I need to do to attract what I want? Think, who do I need to become to attract what I want? Because as I said, if you're tuning in to stress, anxiety, and worry, that's what you're going to attract. Now this is on your radar, you'll see people in relationships. Lonely, negative, needy people who normally meet at the pub, because that's where lonely, needy, negative people hang out. And then they get drunk or they take drugs and then they have sex once they've been drunk and had drugs, and then there's the oxytocin of the sex and the drugs and the alcohol. Before they know it, they're in a relationship, a child's born, and they realise the relationship was based on nothing other than drugs, alcohol, and two people being needy and lonely. That's like a recurring trend right across the UK, because they attracted what they gave out. It wasn't about love and connection. It was about neediness. Anyway, so the first 5 minutes are the most important. And the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes are actually probably more important. I retract that statement, but we'll come on to that next week. So what I want you to do when you wake up, and I'm going to leave you with a task today, as well as what I've already discussed, you need to align your thoughts with your desired future. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. I don't give a fuck how much weight you think you should have lost with the work that you've done. That's just a story you're telling yourself. I don't care how much money you think you should have made with the effort you've invested into your business. That's just a story that you're telling yourself. I don't care how much love you think your partner should give you based on the love that you think you've given them. That's just a story you tell yourself. And those stories will keep you shackled, because you can be energetically and magnetically pulled by aligning your thoughts with your desired future and be pulled by inspiration, or you can be shackled by memories of the past. That's why most people fail, because they get up and they tune into memories of the past. This is hard, guys. It isn't easy, by the way. I'm not saying it's easy. You have to remember, your brain is basically a screenshot, photo album of everything that's happened in the past. And that's what you form your decisions on. This is why meditation is so important. Meditation means to become familiar with. So every morning when I meditate, I become familiar with my future. I don't want to be the old Lee. Nothing that happened in Lee's life before today actually matters. It's irrelevant. It's gone. Those albums should just be deleted. And the album should always be an album that's moving forwards. So ask yourself today, what frequency am I tuning into when I get up? What broadcast am I emitting that other people want to listen to? Because if it's the worst case scenario, and some people do this, they literally get out of bed and they start scanning for problems. You'll get problems. What happens if you tune the radio thinking, I'm looking for Problem FM? There we go. Hey, Problem FM. I'm looking for Anger FM, Anxiety FM, Fear FM, Scarcity FM. Or we can look for Love FM, Positivity FM, Gratitude FM. Whatever you tune into, you're going to get. But as I said, when we tune into something that doesn't align, or we start searching for what's wrong, then we're reinforcing, listen to this, we're reinforcing what we don't want. Most people, when they come to me in victim stage, this is what they say. How do you want your life to look? I don't know, but I fucking hate the one I'm living. What goals do you want to move towards? Well, I just don't want to be X. Well, what do you want to? I'm not really sure. I'm literally like, here's a free training, see you later. Can't be bothered. Because if I've sent them a training and they've watched it and they still don't know what they want, but they cannot wait to tell me what they don't want, what's not working for them, what a twat their wife is, or husband, or unicorn, or significant other, and how much they hate their job, and how nobody respects them. Everyone talks to them at work. They're not paid anywhere near what they're worth. Everyone always rips them off. All men are liars and cheats, and they're all the same. Because Prince Charles and Eddie Hall have so much in common. And they want to tell themselves that story to keep them stuck. Well, stop that story. How do you want your life to look? And the reason why they won't tell me, even though they know, is that they're still committed to tuning into that station. Why? Because it's safe. And if they weren't fucking moaning about the life they don't like, they wouldn't have anything to talk about at all. Why? Who are the only people they hang around with? People that talk about the same things. They're all sat together, tuned in to boring, pity party, victim, FM. So we can change this, but don't ever talk about what you don't want. The best analogy I've ever heard is calling an Uber, and when the driver gets to your house and says, "Hey Pete, where do you want to go?" Pete says, "I don't know, but not here." I fucking hate it here. Can we just talk about how much I don't want to be here? No, we can't. We have to know where we want, right? And we can tune into that. You can tune into your future and listen to the radio of your future if you choose to. But you can't create a new reality watching yesterday's movie. You can't create a new reality. You can't produce a new song tuning into yesterday's radio. Okay, we have to, and this is hard, guys, because we all fall into negative thinking, right? We need to disrupt the channel. Even if it means it sounds awful for a few days. It sounds worse than it did when you were tuned into Negativity FM. I can't wait for my Fathom note taker to try and put my, this is the first time I've done it, to try and put my talks into some form of format. Just realised it's on there. So we need to disrupt the channel, right? And we do this through awareness. First of all, you need to become aware of how you're thinking. If you're not even aware of what your first thought is, or what you're thinking about before you go to bed, because you're that locked in victim mode, then awareness is the first thing. Then we need to look at intention. So we need to have the intention to change. And then we need to connect this to emotion. And that's when it turns into brain coherence. Okay? And we start to emit new signals. And our feelings, our actions, and our thoughts start to align with the future that we do want, not the future that we don't want. Like, imagine being that tuned in to like love, positivity, growth, contribution. What other words did I write down? Passion, focus, happiness. Imagine being that tuned into it that someone keeps trying to take your radio off and it just goes straight back in. Because you refuse to play a different song. That's what's called real brain coherence. That's when your thoughts and your feelings are that aligned that you choose to only think one way, which makes you feel a certain way, and it's always based on your desired future. So, as I said at the beginning, to recap, whatever you are tuning into with that first thought is literally like whatever you've tuned, and you can stop and reset right now. Turn the fucking radio off. Turn it off. Pull it out of the fucking wall. And then you can plug it back in and you can choose a new station right now. But your first thought is literally your tune for the entire day. And it will vibrate all the way through your body, and whatever you're thinking about will create how you feel. So if you're thinking anxious thoughts, you're going to feel anxious. If you're thinking angry thoughts, you're going to feel angry. If you're thinking thoughts of nothing but love, growth, and contribution, you're going to feel nothing but love, growth, and contribution. You're only ever going to feel what you're thinking about. Write that one down. Now, this is then backed. This is where it breaks down. So, okay, I get it, Lee. So I've got these thoughts and I've changed them. So I've started thinking positive, loving thoughts, gratitude, and I've started to really feel that way. This is great, but nothing's changing for me. Because it then has to be backed up with how we behave. Like, every single one of you has the opportunity today to be the best part of someone else's day. Maybe by telling them how much you love and appreciate them. Maybe just by something simple like helping a stranger, buying someone a sandwich, buying them a coffee, ringing them an old friend to check in and see how they are. Only if they're willing to talk about the future. You know, we then have to behave in line with the feelings that we've created that came from the thoughts that we created when we tuned in. So you can't think about feelings of love and create feelings of love, and then walk through the door and start kicking off with your partner because your fucking food's not on the table and she's overcooked your steak. Okay, that doesn't align. The behavior has to align with the feelings, that have to align with the thoughts, right? And likewise, we can't, create the thought of, I want to lose weight because I love my body, so I feel this certain way, and then go straight back into the fridge and start eating red velvet cake. The behavior has to come afterwards, but the thoughts and the feelings come first. So how you think will lead to how you feel, that will lead to how you behave. That will lead to who you become, and who you become will lead to who you attract. Because guess what? The world doesn't give you what you want, the world gives you who you are. So if you want more happiness, become happiness. If you want more love, become love. If you don't want to judge, don't judge other people. If you want more positivity, be more positive. Because if we tune into stress and worry, we'll get more. If we tune into positivity and happiness, we'll get more. If we tune into gratitude and love, we'll get more. If we tune into negativity and lack, we'll get more. But when this goes to a new level, and you've heard me say this about when you enter what's called coherence, right? This is when your body starts to feel what you're focused on. So have anyone ever practiced this? Have you ever sat and just thought, right, for 5 minutes, 5 solid minutes, I'm just going to think happy thoughts? I doubt any of you could do it right now. Because you've not practiced enough, you're not trained enough. Most people, 90% of people, can't even sit still in a room for 5 minutes without any noise. And this is why meditation is so important. Imagine how fucking fast my brain goes, right? Trust me, it needs slowing the fuck down as soon as I get out of bed. Because if I didn't, whoo, you'd all be getting it. So I need to slow it down. And I need to get coherence. And I need to get my thoughts under control so I can get my feelings under control and I can show up a little bit more calmly. But when you start to feel the way you are thinking, that's what then reinforces it. And this is why you actually need to practice these things. So just try it. Try practicing feeling happy for 5 minutes. There's loads of other things you can do this, right? I was reading something about couples yesterday about what's the most important thing in relationships outside of sex. For like kind of happiness, and then it related into 3 things that actually improve sex, right? The 3 things, one was the 30-second kiss, which releases oxytocin. One was a 30-minute hug, which releases oxytocin. And the other one was just 5 minutes of eye contact. Okay, they're again all things that create happiness, that create closeness. Again, if you ask 99% of couples to do that, they probably couldn't. So these things need to be practiced because we create the feelings, we create the emotions, we create the happiness, and then it reinforces and hardwires it when we start to feel the way we think without thinking about it. And that's when we're in coherence. This is when you enter coherence. This is when you're perfectly tuned. And when you were trying to record the top 40 on your radio, pressing record when we were like 16 years old, trying to stop and start it on the number 1 track so you made your cassette. Please don't tell me I was the only person who did that. So you're perfectly tuned in with your dream future. Like that's the place of like, imagine waking up, right? And you just tuned straight into your dream future. And not just your dream future, but who you need to become to attract what you need. Because the world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you who you are. Told you I was going to say it loads of times. So what we're doing here, when we are in this coherence and we're aligning the thoughts with the feelings, that's when we're aligning the mind and the body in one direction. Because this is the thinking center and this is the feeling center. And if you don't believe that they are so intrinsically connected, you are absolutely crackers. Anyone who's experienced real anxiety will know exactly what I'm talking about. There is a deep connection between the mind and how you feel. Now here's the bit when it gets difficult as well. And this is why I wanted to talk about old school radios, not DAB digital radios, even though apparently they do go a little bit wrong sometimes. So when you tune an old school radio with a knob, you get it perfect, don't you? And the song sounds great. Realistically, how long does it last? 30 seconds if you're lucky, like a 15-year-old boy. So we have to keep readjusting it. Every minute of every day, and this is why awareness is so key. What will happen is you might do all this, and then you walk into work and someone says, oh fucking hell Jane, you should have done that, you haven't done it yet, or whatever, or you know, your missus snaps at you, or the fucking dog pees on the kitchen, or any of these things, Radio Luxembourg. So, and then that will then trigger a different thought, that will then trigger a different feeling, and all of a sudden all your thoughts are on you thinking, why is my boss so pissed off at me? I don't even think I've done anything wrong. And if you don't retune it really quickly, or your wife or your husband or your unicorn, if you don't retune it really quickly and you have to constantly do this throughout the day, then it'll just go straight back to that old radio station. And you can't create a new you listening to the old station. It's like getting up and pressing the song of negativity. It's like getting up and pressing play on yesterday's movie. So throughout the day today, when this happens, stop and think, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Is what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling aligned with who I want to be in the future that I want, or have I started to let the external world control it again? And I don't get this right every day, guys, but when I do, I have like the best days of my life. When I'm in complete coherence, like someone could literally kick off into the middle of next week, call me every name under the sun, something really bad could happen, and it wouldn't even bother me. But sometimes it does, and then I have to retune because I react. Is that reaction in alignment with the future that I want? Did I say I want to tune in to the future of that angry, reactive man? No, I didn't. Right, who do I want to tune into? Love, positivity, gratitude. Right, let's get this radio back on time. I'm really sorry you feel that way. So, when you're tuned in to the future you want, you'll attract the future that you want and the people in it. Because it's not just about the world not giving you what you want, it's the world and the people in it don't give you what they want. They give you who you are. This is why you'll see relationships that are just in complete coherence, because they're tuned in. And one partner is just giving so much love and gratitude to the other partner that all they ever give them is love and gratitude back, because they're tuned into the same coherent channel. So every morning, choose the frequency that you want. Start to get a handle on this. If you're not doing it every day, you crackers, unless you're just like super happy 10 out of 10 and every day is a breathe. So remember as well, it's not just about tuning into what we want to listen to, it's tuning into what we're broadcasting. Because whatever we're broadcasting is what's going to create our listeners, which is the people in our life. Does that make sense? So the only people, if you're broadcasting things that aren't aligned with your future, what listeners are you going to attract? Listeners who aren't aligned with your future. Because whatever you're broadcasting, which comes from your thoughts, which create your feelings, leads to your personal reality. So again, today I choose love. I choose positivity. I choose growth. I choose contribution. I choose understanding. I choose empathy. I choose happiness. I choose passion. I choose purpose. Even like I've got like loads more affirmations than the 9 that I'm going to give you. Once we've done the 9 morning affirmations, as I said, you've got 5 more to come. We'll then be doing a training on those affirmations. But again, I've got a lot more affirmations, and one of my other affirmations is that I refuse to respond to negativity. I refuse to react. And that in fact, every act of negativity towards me is nothing more than an opportunity to practice kindness and compassion. Someone isn't being negative because they're doing it on purpose just to piss you off. They're doing it because they're struggling. So when you reframe that straight away, how could I possibly help this person? Why are they feeling that way? How can I show them maybe the kindness and compassion they've been missing their whole life? That's when you shift. That's when you're unshakable. But this happens when you shift your frequency the second you open your eyes, before the world chooses what channel to tune you into. So rather than waiting for success, waiting for love, waiting for peace, waiting for the relationship that you want, waiting for all of the things that you need in order to feel whole, generate those feelings from within the second you get out of bed. Create that fullness yourself, because your external world will always follow your internal world. So if you're not sorting your internal world out first, then the external world will just give you whatever by default. This is why I've said so many times, if you've got chaos in your head, you'll have chaos in your life. Whatever you're giving out, you'll attract. So many people are trying to fix the outer world. They're trying to fix the relationship. They're trying to fix the career. They're trying to make the money. They think they're falling into the fallacy of I'll be happy when. Like even recently, Nat and I have now gone through a massive shift when we're less obsessed on making a living and more obsessed on living a life. Because again, you can spend your whole life chasing the things that you think you need to be happy, rather than thinking I can just be happy. I can just choose happy. I can just choose positivity. And when I start to choose all of these things by default, I'm going to tune into that channel. And then what audience am I going to attract? The audience that want to listen to that story. So today, tune into your future happiness. Tune into love, tune into gratitude, tune into success, and you'll attract everything that you want into your life. That's it. That's your task. Focus on it. Focus on becoming the person that you need to be, tuning into the radio that you need, and giving out the broadcast that you need to attract what you want, rather than chasing it. Guys, have the best day.